Is your practice tired of wrestling with insurance denials, deciphering EOBs, and watching your revenue slip through the cracks? You are not alone. Welcome to The Claim Game, the podcast designed to cut through the confusion and provide you with the best practices for revenue cycle management success. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and we've been with people just like you in the trenches. Each week, we'll break down complex billing processes, share real-world solutions from practices like yours, and ask questions of the game makers and changers of healthcare so you can take control of your revenue. Let's turn those claim denials into deposits and help you return to focusing on patient care. It's time to win the claim game.
Britt, welcome to the Claim Game. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Can you give us a little background, a little bio about yourself and how you got here?
So I am a licensed psychotherapist and I'm in private practice. My career, I've worked inpatient, outpatient. I've worked with kids. I've worked with adults. I'm also a recovering addict. And I always tell people I'm also a recovering hot mess of a human. I didn't get into the therapy business to help other people. I got into it because I'm obsessed with understanding why change is hard and how to do it anyway. And so I've dedicated my life to doing that. And I write books and speak on stages and do all words related things too.
Yeah. Do you think it's fair to say that a lot of people that go into the therapy world don't do it for the research, they do it for the me search?
I think there's two types of people that get into therapy, the me search people and the people that think my life's so perfect that I'm just going to go help everybody else with, their problems.
Whoa.
And problems on both sides. I think me search is great, but as long as we don't bring it into the room, I see a therapist regularly as well still.
Yeah. Nice. I think in a lot of your writing and your speaking, you openly, and you just did, right? Just describe yourself as a recovering, would you just say a recovering hot mess? Or,
hot mess, train wreck, take your pick.
Well, yeah. What was the turning point that took you from dealing with the burnout, addiction, and anxiety to studying neuropsychotherapy and becoming a therapist?
So I do think there's this mythology of the rock bottom moments where you have this one insight and then everything is linear. And that's true whether you're a business owner, a recovering drug addict, and I'm both. And so I can say with a lot of personal experience, it's not linear. Healing's not linear. Building anything of substance is not linear. And so rather than here was the moment I had the insight and I changed, it was more like a series of I'm going to run this experiment and that didn't work. And then I'm going to go left and that didn't work. And then I started really getting the momentum to change my life. I was 31 when I went back to graduate school. So between undergraduate and my master's, it was 10 years of trying stuff and a lot of failures. And then when I decided I'm ready to be a therapist, that was when I went all in and hit go. So if we had to pick, when was your moment? It was that.
I like the language you just used. There's a mythology of the rock bottom moment. Because what you just described is like this, sort of trailblazing up instead of rock bottom.
And I do think the idea that there's one turning point in anything does everyone a disservice. I'm writing a new book. It's actually out next fall and it's called Shame Spiral. And we all know what that feels like. But I do think a spiral is a much better way to conceptualize the build process, whether you're building sobriety or you're building an enterprise or you're building a family. It's sort of, you go around in circles, but you find yourself learning something new each time. And hopefully, eventually things will spiral up instead of down.
Well, that's true. We have 3 kiddos and, I think a spiral is exactly how I would describe it. I don't know if you have kids, but that's exactly
I do not, but yes.
Yeah, it's the same kind of labor of love thing. Well, you're a practice owner, right? So you know exactly what that's like, right? And so you write now and you're a private practice clinician. I don't know how you balance all that, but what do you learn from running your own practice that helps shape the fluff-free, quick tools that you write and teach about?
So I am a full-time private practice owner. I have a full caseload. I also write books and I keynote, and I don't have kids, so that does help a lot. So I don't think everyone has the same amount of hours when you have children or elderly parents. Balance is tricky. So balance is anything worth doing will unbalance your life. But I approach my work with this fluff-free, let's cut to the chase, because you have to, if you're going to do a lot of things. If you're going to do one thing really well or 10 things, you need to be able to know what's important and what's not very, very quickly. And I found with both the business build and the client work, the question of, well, why is this a thing? I shouldn't have anxiety. I shouldn't be worried about my caseload. I shouldn't be worried about this. Those why questions are not a great use of our time all of the time. And so knowing what questions to ask in any given moment just cuts through all that noise, because we have a lot of noise coming at us from every direction all day long. So what's important is a really useful skill clinically and professionally and in every other way.
I mean, I feel like there's a lot to be said about that, right? About noise and the anti-boredom machines that we carry in our pockets. And do you have any like soapboxes that you've had about phones lately?
Just that I am in trouble along with everybody else. I spend too much time on my phone, and my self-esteem goes up proportionally to how much time I'm on social media. So it's tricky. Yeah. It's tricky for me too.
Yeah, I think we're all struggling with it, right? I mean, it's not great. Have you read anything by Arthur Brooks, The Meaning of Your Life? He talks a lot about like 2008, the iPhone comes out, and then loneliness skyrockets. Anyway, it's stuff that is all relevant to that. But anyway, in your book, The Science of Stuck, can we talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. Go read it. But you explain that being stuck is like a protective, is this the right way to say it? Protective brain state? Or like,
okay. Yeah. We can roll with that, because people get stuck in all manners of ways. And the immediate story is, there's something wrong with me. I'm stuck. It must be me. And we want to understand that the state of stuckness, the freeze, from a nervous system perspective, you can call it I'm in freeze or in functional freeze, and I don't know what to do or which way to go, is almost never, I don't like never, but I'll say I've never seen, and I've clocked more than a decade and more than 10,000 hours of client work and built a business. Being stuck is usually not a problem of desire, motivation, or will. There's usually other factors going into play. And I think of your brain like a car. And if you don't know how to drive a stick shift, you're going to get stuck. But that's because you don't know how to drive a stick shift. So someone needs to teach you, because it's different. Driving a stick is not the same as driving an automatic. And so our brains are stick shift brains. They are not automatics. So we need to know how to shift gears if we want to get unstuck and stay unstuck.
Okay. So what did you say there? It's not a matter of will or desire, right? It's
or motivation.
Or motivation. It's a matter of skill. Or just knowing how we function.
And I can't drive a stick. When I try, I am grinding, I'm destroying transmissions. It is a bad scene, but it's a great metaphor, right? It's just, I haven't put in the reps to practice. I don't want to practice. I want to get in the car, turn the key, and go. And with our brains, when it comes to our goals, whether they're fitness goals or finance goals, we want to just turn the key and go, but you can't do that. Our brains are more like driving uphill in a stick shift in San Francisco than the Autobahn.
That's a great metaphor. So, I mean, without going into the entire book, right? What are some ways that we can get the reps in, right? How do we practice getting unstuck?
So rather than why am I stuck? And this is true, again, whether it's a bad habit or an enterprise or a big initiative that you want to get everyone in your company on board with. The question is not why am I stuck? The question is, what gear am I stuck in? If you are stuck in fifth gear, you're grinding, it's 100 miles an hour every day, nonstop, you're gonna burn out. But a fifth gear brain state stuck is gonna need different stuff than a first gear brain state stuck. If you're stuck in first gear, that's I can't get out of bed, I feel like I have no motivation, I'm just sort of meh. Those are very different gears, and the different gears do need different approaches. So instead of why am I stuck, it's what gear am I stuck in? And then we get to work. Downshiftting if you're in fifth, or upshifting if you're in first. I don't know how I ended up on all these car metaphors. I am not a car person, but it works. It makes sense to me.
It makes total sense. I mean, I'm sitting in Detroit, so we're in downtown Detroit, and so the car metaphors are perfect here. So it's a natural fit. I haven't even thought about that, right? Because it's like, yeah, how am I stuck? More about why am I stuck, right?
Mhm.
And I love that. Okay, so for practice owners, there's a lot of noise. Which we've talked about a little bit, and there's a lot of stuckness. When a private practice owner knows they need to make a major shift, but they keep putting it off, how do they overcome that cycle? Either that's like brain paralysis or however you would describe that. But how do you get out of that?
The first thing I would want to know is, okay, which type of stuckness are we talking about? A type I see often are people who are used to frontline clinical work that are suddenly now managers or CEOs, or now they're tasked to supervise people. It's really difficult to go from therapist brain to CEO brain. And so a really good question to ask if that's your stuckness is, what's my role? When I'm doing keynote speeches for companies, I'm not playing therapist. I need to know my role for this gig is not listen with empathy and pull my clinical skills. It's a different role, and different roles demand different strategies. But people are very quick to forget to ask themselves, what is my role in this moment? If my role is business owner, different approach than I'm a therapist right now or whatever. And so what's my role is a great question, even in friendships, right? Especially if you have clinical skills. You know, is my role here to try to save this person or intervene upon this thing? But know your role first is a really good operating system.
I love that. And I think it takes practice owners a long time to develop the know my role thing, especially as a practice owner. Did that take you a long time, or did you? It seems like, I don't know if this is the case, but when you write a bestseller like that, it seems like maybe you have it figured out. But did that just take forever to figure out for you? Or was that more of a natural, like fit like a glove role for you?
Writing is a natural thing. That's always been a thing I do. But shifting from therapist to business owner to like writing books is one thing. Selling them is a whole nother ball game. So switching roles is really tricky for me because our brains are just not natural. Again, it's like gears. Our brains don't do it automatically. If I've been grinding at fifth gear clinically and I'm doing session after session after session, I cannot expect myself to now sit down and do an annual budget projection spreadsheet. My brain can't downshift that fast. So then it's not what's wrong with me that I can't do my projections. It's I'm in fifth gear clinical brain. I need to get down to second gear business brain. What are my choices to do that? Much better use of our energy than withdrawal.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know about you, but even well rested, and it's rare these days, but a full night of sleep, I don't know if budget and projections are even going to work for me. You know, I mean, we have to, that's somebody else's gear. I'm going to have to borrow for that.
Which is, I'm glad you said that because it's true. If you don't have to play all the roles yourself, and I did for a long, long time. I was the therapist and the CEO and the marketing person and every other, I was the tech person. My first website for my practice was a free hunting template. And because it was free and it was sort of pre-built. And so the icons to book a session looked like little hunting targets, and it was army green with deer antlers. It was insane. I don't need to do that now. I have web people. But again, know your role. If you have the option to outsource, why wouldn't you?
Well, right. I mean, and we talk about this a lot, and I know that you're not the insurance-based practice person, but we talk about this a lot with practices that are driven, committed to that. If you're the one doing a lot of this stuff, you're the highest paid whatever, right? Marketing person, accountant, whatever that is in your practice, right? Because your time is worth infinitely more than what you're going to spend doing that stuff. Yeah, and like, you know, I tongue in cheek, we joke about it, but accounting and marketing compete for like least favorite departments in my mind, and which I know a lot of people really do, but it's challenging for sure.
Exactly.
We'll get right back to the podcast episode, but first let me ask you a question. Who is the highest paid insurance biller in your practice? If you're the one doing your billing, the answer is you. If you're the practice owner and you're a clinician, you know the drill. You do the hard work, you deliver great services. And then there's this waiting game. There's billing after hours, on weekends, and during birthday parties, or you go to the office for a quote unquote quick visit. And then you look up at your clock and all of a sudden you've been there for 3 or 4 hours doing billing. Following up on claims is tedious and it creates a massive bottleneck for your cash flow. And that's exactly why Practice Solutions does billing for practices that take insurance. We take your practice's billing completely off your plate. Our team handles everything from eligibility and benefits to charging cards to posting payments, following up on denials. And we deal with insurance companies every single day so that you can focus on growing the practice. It's time to stop stressing over the billing and getting back to what you do best, which is running your business as best as you can. Head over to practicesol.com today to schedule your free consultation to see if our done-for-you billing services are right for you. All right, let's get back to today's episode. Yeah, and so you manage a clinical team then, yeah, in your clinical world?
I'm a solopreneur.
A solopreneur, okay.
Just
there you go. But you've worked with people who manage complex teams and clinical teams. How do those owners use your principles to prevent burnout across their staff?
Yeah, and to be clear, I've worked with teams. I've worked on teams. I've worked with developing curriculum for teams. I found I just play better by myself in the sandbox.
So there you go. You gotta
now that I can, I do. I think with burnout, and 50 years of research on burnout has shown that burnout is not a personal problem. It is a result of demands that exceed resources. So any type of environment when the job demands are going to outweigh the resources available to do it, that is one of the contributing factors to burnout. People burn out from jobs they love. Burnout is not just about, I hate my job and I'm tired. Sometimes it's, I love my job so much, I'm gonna just throw myself in and do everything for everyone all of the time. So the first step with teams who are facing burnout, and it's safe to say if you work in human services, that's going to be an ongoing maintenance thing. Let's start with what's true, because I've worked in environments where I've both said to people and I've had supervisors say to me, like all the sunny, think positive, go get them, kiddo platitudes. Sometimes the best way to prevent burnout is to get really honest about, hey, this is an impossible job. There is absolutely no way that you can do this caseload and make all of these calls and manage all of this billing. It's not a possibility. Here are expectations. Let's set them at the right level. That will go a lot further for burnout than telling people. And again, no shade if you do this. It's a good practice to do box breathing or to journal. But journaling, box breathing, and vacations don't solve burnout. Systemic changes are what's needed there.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we do, I don't know about the teams you've worked with, but every role here has a document that says like, these are the results that are expected of you. We review it every year. And we either we go, does something need to be added or taken off of this list? And we do that routinely. Like, it's not just like a one and done. I take stuff off of people's documents like that all the time. And because things change, organizations are alive, they're dynamic. And you have to be able to pivot. So I don't know how you would run it any other way. That's great. Well, thanks, Britt, for that. And I know that you also talk about anxiety, and a lot of the resources that you have, you reframe anxiety as a helpful internal signal. This is something I deeply appreciate about you and your content. Private practice owners, business people face anxiety. People face anxiety all the time, but private practice owners do as well. How can they use that hypervigilance as data to build a stronger business, more resources, right? You said burnout is demand exceeds resources. How do we do that?
Right. And so it's so easy to get discouraged and to just look around and be like, I'm totally done. I just cannot do it anymore. And with anxiety, we're also taught that anxiety is all in your head. You just need to think positive. And that's just not true. Anxiety, first and foremost, is a physiological response to a perceived stressor. And so I think if we're going back to the car metaphors again, anxiety is the check engine light on your brain's dashboard, right? Like when I was 16, I would duct tape over the check engine light because I didn't want to see it and I didn't have money to fix things. But anxiety is not the problem. It's the light that's pointing to the problem. So when people come to me and they're like, I'm just so anxious about my business, how do I feel better? We're missing a step here. We want to know, okay, but what is that anxiety pointing towards? Sometimes you have to get under the hood with the mechanic and do an inventory on the business or on the staff or on the expectations or whatever to figure out, it's not why am I anxious? It's what is this anxiety signaling needs action? Because anxiety almost never is solved by thinking. And it is often lessened by taking actions in the direction that's needed.
Yeah, you're spot on there. I know that in several interviews, Jeff Bezos has talked about, like, people will ask him, like, how do you deal with stress during the hard times? And he's like, I work. Like, I go heads down and I solve the problem. Like, I figure out, like, what's going on and then I do it. So yeah, I think that
Which
makes
is easy, right? Like that's great in a perfect world, and it's true. But a question I really like for people who are anxious about anything is, what are your choices? Is part one. Because somebody who has 17,000 choice points is going to have a different menu than someone who has 2 or 1.
Ooh,
But
yeah.
the first question is, what, given everything being what it is, what are your choices? And then here's the kicker. Of your choices, what are you willing to do? Because just because we have choices doesn't mean we're going to be willing to take those steps. So we have to get really honest. All right, if you're not willing to do A, B, and C, okay, but anxiety requires action. So what are you able to do and what are you willing to do? And that goes, again, a lot further, a lot faster than insight. I like insight. I'm a psychotherapist. I built my entire career on understanding why people are so people-y. But information doesn't become transformation until we start doing things.
What do you find in people that are either like strivers, high performers? They're able to do a lot? Are they willing to do a lot? Like, are they willing to sacrifice a bunch in order to get a thing? Like, what's the
difference? For some high performers, the willingness is about doing less. And for people that are more first gear people, then it's what are you willing to do? Fifth gear people, it's what are you willing to stop doing? What are you willing to cut back on doing?
Oof.
What are you willing? Yeah, I don't like slowing down. It feels like death will be imminent. But first gear, it's all right, we need to actually pick up the pace here. What are your choices? What are you willing to do? Fifth gear people who are 2 seconds from burnout or a cardiac episode, it's all right, what are you willing to cut back on?
Oof. Do you experience a lot of both of those in your work, or do you experience a lot of one type of those?
In my clinical work, it's everything. I personally tend to skew more fifth gear. I don't want to slow down, can't stop, won't stop. I did a lot of speed and meth and cocaine because I like, we're going fast, let's go even faster. It's not a great approach. Yeah. But again, both first gear stuckness and fifth gear stuckness are not morality problems, they're physiology problems. And we want to go to both choices and action and willingness. And that's where you're going to get to move the needle a bit when you get drill down to those places.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, a good clue for people, and I'm only saying this from experience, is if the people around you are like, you need to slow down, right? That's a good clue. You should like pick up your ears a little bit, which is hard when you're going 500 miles an hour.
And you can't slow down as a practice owner, because legitimately, if you drop certain balls, that's the end of the business. But I have never seen it where there's not at least one place you can cut back or slow down. I'm not saying do everything, but we can do something.
Yeah. I mean, in some transparency, my leadership team often is like, man, you gotta slow down. You just gotta slow down just a touch. It's okay to slow down a little bit, which is fair. I mean, and sometimes you can go faster by slowing down a little bit.
100%. Because it's sustainable when you do it on all right, I'm going to brake a little. Now I'm going to give it some gas. Now I'm going to brake a little. And humans are not wired to be in one state of peak performance all of the time. Athletes need off seasons. Business owners don't have an off season. So we have to build in little micro shifts into our busy lives. Otherwise, we're going to fry ourselves.
Yeah. I was just at a conference, and one of a really insightful thing that was said by one of the speakers was he builds in a vacation it was in a time interval, like just automatic. Because he's like, I have to get X, Y, and Z done by then because I know I'm stopping, right? And I thought that was really smart. I was like, oh, that's good. Because I buy into the lie of, in a year it'll slow down. And you know what happens, Britt? It never does.
How's that going? How's the slowdown plan next year going? I'm still waiting for
No, it never does, right? And then you'll go 5 years without a vacation. And then you're like, oh, why am I burnt out and hating everything?
Exactly. And vacations don't solve burnout. If you've been grinding for 10 years, a week in Cabo is not going to solve that problem.
No. And you're going to just come back yourself. So
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's good. So what are some boundary scripts that you recommend for clinical leaders or leaders in general? Because people often fail to enforce their boundaries. So how do you do that?
The boundary failures often come from role confusion, right? So someone who's used to a lot of empathy on a clinical role is going to feel guilty being mean if they're setting strict boundaries that have to do with their team. And so, wait, my role here is not to be this person's friend or therapist. My role here is to create a structured container so they can thrive, right? A leader sets the conditions and creates the ability for all those people to do their job and hopefully succeed. And so once you're clear on your role, the boundary guilt tends to lessen. And then sometimes it's, yeah, you're going to feel guilty anyway. And we just need to feel the guilt and keep setting those boundaries anyway, because boundaries protect businesses, relationships, they protect ourselves. They've sort of gotten a bad rap. Everyone's like, I must guard my boundaries and guard my peace. And it's like, well, a good boundary is flexible and can be elastic when necessary. Yeah. But a good boundary script is recognizing what is going on. Here's what I'm seeing. Here's my interpretation. This is the action that I'm needing. Let's talk. If there's a conversation that needs to happen, or help me understand if there's something else. I found most people tend to be harder on themselves than anyone will ever be on them. Mm-hmm. And if you're leading those people, I would much rather have a chance to rat on myself. Like, hey, Britt, I'm noticing X, Y, and Z. Help me understand what's going on. And then I feel a little bit safer to be like, this is what's actually going on. Now let's find solutions, choices, willingness. What's the action?
Yeah, I love that. In your book, you have like a quick and dirty reading option for really busy people. Where should practice owners start if they only have like 5 minutes a day?
I get a lot of feedback on how I structured the book, but I'm so ADHD. I very seldomly will just pick up a book and read it. I'm in the middle of 20 books. It's like a page here and a page there. So I wrote it so regular book people can just read it, but I also wrote a deep dive. So there's little trailheads and footnotes and suggested reading if you want to go all in. But if you have no time, this is so ridiculous. I tell people, I'm like, leave the book in the bathroom. You're going to be there a few times a day. Go to the end of each chapter. There's a bulleted summary and a few quick action items. And so you don't have to read the whole thing. You can just I put it all in there for you so you can read it, but you don't have to.
Yeah. Well, they're different people, right? I mean, as a results-oriented person, details don't always matter to me, and that gets me in trouble. Not unseldom that happens, but there are people out there that love the detail and they love the intricacy of a book, and that's great. It's a beautiful thing. I wish I had more of that for sure, but yeah.
There's a way in that book for you to read that, because I don't like also having to get 3 separate books. Like, here's my deep dive and here's my owner's manual. Right? It's a lot. So it's all in there for you if you choose.
Britt, from all of us that are result-oriented and fast people, I appreciate you writing and structuring a book for us. I appreciate it. Yeah. For practice leaders who take their entire clinical team or administrative team from burnout to peak performance, how do your team workshops help transform drama into collaboration and results?
So workplace drama is so counter to the mission, and it is so unnecessary, right? But what people don't realize is that drama or gossip, or those people that are having the meeting after the meeting to talk about the meeting, and just those hushed whispers in the hallway, a lot of that physiologically is the nervous system going into a fight response. People who don't feel, I won't say safe, because safety is not a reasonable expectation in a workplace, but people who feel like at any moment the entire world is going to come crashing down on them will either default to fight or flight or freeze. Workplace drama is a fight response. And in my workshops, I give you boundary scripts for how do we do confrontation in this company? Because it can't just be, I guess if there's a problem, we talk about it. That doesn't work in intimate relationships. It doesn't work in business. We need systems for confrontation. We need systems for accountability. And we also need systems for praise, because I do not think hardworking adults get the same level of praise that they do. Here's everything you're doing wrong. Now, I'm not saying give trophies out to everybody for showing up for their job, but let's tell people when they're doing a good job. Yes. It's worth saying.
It is worth saying. And some people thrive on it, right? I mean, people need such a little encouragement in order to thrive. Like those people, so give it to them. They've earned it in a lot of ways, right, for sure.
Except in the feedback sandwiches. I don't love feedback sandwiches. Here's something you're doing great. Here's my problem with you. No one likes this feedback sandwich.
It's very disingenuous, right? Because it's coming. You're like, this compliment is leading to the thing I really want to know about. followed by something I'm never going to hear, right?
Exactly. So if you're going to give someone a tough piece of feedback, maybe start by saying, I'm not going to fire you. This is going to be a hard conversation.
Hey, way to start. Yeah.
I'd much rather start that way, because then because if I'm braced for you're going to get fired, I'm not listening. Your front brain, which is all that logic stuff, goes out the window when you're stressed.
Okay.
So let's start with, you're not going to get fired. We're going to work this out. Now we're going to have a tough conversation. Great. Now you haven't done the gotcha, the bait.
Yeah. You want to know the other thing that, and I don't know, you're the expert, but here's something I also have learned is as the boss, when I message people, can we have a meeting? It is rarely about what people think it's about, and it stresses them out. And so I used to love whenever I ask that, I get really quick responses, right? But what I learned through feedback with my team was that freaks them out. And so it's like, hey, I want to have a meeting about this for this result. Do you have 15 minutes? Right? It totally disarms all the tension. I don't know if you
Yes. Oh my gosh. And it doesn't require a lot of feelings work. You're not coddling your people. You're not like, oh, how are you feeling? You actually remind me of a boss I used to work for, and he was really awesome guy, but same thing. Awesome guy. We're still friends, but he would send those short, come to my office. I need to meet. And later on, when we became friends, I was like, bro, just put a smiley emoji at the end of it. You don't even need to say what it's for, but you gotta sprinkle some sugar on it so we don't panic, because we're not going to work as well if we're freaked out. Just throw a smiley on there and we're probably going to be okay.
So
it doesn't take a lot of effort. It's really easy to do.
It takes actually less effort than adding what I just said. So
your way is good too. Or just throw a smiley. We're cool. It's all good.
Smiley is perfect. That's what I'm going to start doing. So, Britt, this has been really great. I really appreciate you coming on and talking with us. Where do people get more Britt in their life?
So you can find me on my website, which is just brittfrank.com. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm easy to find in the world. So Google me. Find me on LinkedIn. Instagram is at Britt Frank. Britt is not short for Brittany, and it has 2 T's.
Nice. And all of the links to your books and your website will all be in the show notes. But thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here and doing this with us.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode of The Claim Game, please take a moment to leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps new listeners to find us. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to The Claim Game on your favorite podcast app. Your feedback means so much to us. We want to provide valuable education about revenue cycle management. So if there's something we didn't cover in our topic that was a burning question for you, please let us know so we can try to get you the information you desire. You can find the links to all resources we mentioned in this episode in the show notes. And if you want to dive deeper into our resources, we have 2 places you can do that. First, you can go to our blog at practicesol.com/blog, where we have 8 years of educational blogs. If you want to learn more about what Practice Solutions does, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Just go to practicesol.com to learn more and to connect with one of our awesome people on our team. Thanks for listening. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and this is The Claim Game. See you at the game table next time.